Banoffee Pie. Banoffee Pie was invented in 1972 at the Hungry Monk restaurant in East Sussex, England, by chef Nigel Mackenzie and Ian Dowding. The name combines banana and toffee. The toffee layer is made by boiling an unopened can of condensed milk for 3 hours until the sugar caramelizes inside the can. Home cooks who attempt this without supervision occasionally experience the can exploding. The Hungry Monk kept the recipe secret for years before publishing it in a cookbook. By then, it had already spread across Britain and eventually globally. A British pub dessert invented by accident has become one of the most replicated no-bake pies in the world. The exploding can warning appears in every serious recipe.
Classic cherry pie. Cherry pie is so American that the phrase American as apple pie is factually incorrect. Cherry pie predates apple pie in American culinary history and was considered the more patriotic dessert until apple pie marketing campaigns in the 20th century reversed the association. George Washington's famous cherry tree story, almost certainly invented by biographer Mason Locke Weems in 1806, created a cultural connection between Washington, cherries, and American honesty that influenced dessert preferences for generations. Washington almost certainly never said he could not tell a lie about a cherry tree. The cherry pie on American Thanksgiving tables is older than the myth that inspired it.
Blueberry crumble. Blueberries are one of the only fruits native to North America and were a dietary staple of indigenous peoples across the continent for thousands of years before European contact. Native Americans dried them, ground them into powder, and mixed them with meat and fat to create pemmican, one of the earliest portable high-energy foods. The crumble topping, a mixture of butter, flour, and sugar pressed over fruit before baking, was invented in Britain during wartime rationing when pastry dough required too much butter and flour for regular use. A wartime British shortcut applied to an indigenous North American fruit created one of the most popular American dessert formats. The exploding can warning appears in every serious recipe.
Strawberry cream pie. Strawberries ripen across most of the United States in late spring, making strawberry cream pie one of the first fresh fruit desserts available each year after winter. The combination of fresh strawberries, cream cheese filling, and graham cracker crust became a standard American diner dessert in the mid-20th century. Strawberry season lasts approximately 3 weeks in most American growing regions, which is why strawberry cream pie tastes better in June than at any other time of year. Supermarket strawberries available year-round are picked early for transportation and never develop the sugar content of properly ripened berries. A pie that tastes dramatically different depending on the month it is eaten has never been explained adequately on restaurant menus.
Peach cobbler pie. Peach cobbler is the dessert of the American South, and the argument about whether it should have a bottom crust, a top crust, both, or a biscuit dropped on top has divided Southern families for generations. The dish originated in the American South when early settlers adapted British baked puddings using whatever fruit was available and whatever dough could be assembled quickly. Georgia produces more peaches commercially than any other state and considers peach cobbler a cultural birthright. The peach cobbler pie format, with a pastry crust beneath a cobbler filling, is a compromise between two traditions that satisfies neither side completely and pleases everyone eating it regardless.
S'mores pie. S'mores were invented by the Girl Scouts of America. The first published recipe appeared in a 1927 Girl Scout handbook under the name Some Mores, implying the obvious outcome of eating one. The combination of graham cracker, chocolate, and toasted marshmallow became so associated with American campfire culture that it now appears in pie format, ice cream, cereal, coffee drinks, and breakfast bars. The s'mores pie with a graham cracker crust, chocolate ganache filling, and torched marshmallow topping is a campfire dessert converted into a restaurant dish that requires a kitchen blowtorch to finish. The blowtorch is necessary. Nobody who has eaten a properly torched marshmallow topping has ever suggested removing it.
Red velvet pie. Red velvet cake was invented in the American South in the early 20th century using natural cocoa that reacted with acidic buttermilk to produce a reddish color. When commercial red food dye became widely available in the 1940s, bakers began amplifying the color. The pie format, with cream cheese filling and red velvet base and a pastry crust, appeared in American bakeries in the 2010s, when food presentation became as important as flavor. A slice of red velvet pie photographs dramatically on any surface. The red against white cream cheese creates a visual contrast that social media optimized before anyone consciously decided it would. A southern cake became a pie because it looked better in the format.
Oreo cookie pie. The Oreo was introduced by Nabisco in 1912 and is now the best-selling cookie in the world. The Oreo cookie crust, made by crushing Oreos and binding them with butter, became one of the most used pastry alternatives in American home baking because it requires no rolling, no chilling, and no technique. The Oreo cookie pie with chocolate cream filling and whipped topping over an Oreo crust became a staple of American potlucks and church suppers because it can be assembled without turning on the oven. A no-bake dessert made from the world's most purchased cookie requires no skill and produces results impressive enough to bring to any gathering. This combination has never failed.
Apple pie. Apple pie is not American. The apple is not even originally American. Apples are native to Central Asia. The pie format came from England. The phrase American as apple pie appeared in American marketing in the early 20th century and became so effective that most Americans now genuinely believe apple pie is a native invention. The American version, with cinnamon-spiced apples and a double crust, became standardized through home economics education in the early 20th century, when cooking schools taught a single correct version to millions of students simultaneously. Every American family believes their version is correct. Every American family's version is slightly different. The marketing won completely. Key lime pie. Key lime pie is the official state pie of Florida and was almost certainly invented by sponge fishermen in the Florida Keys in the late 19th century who needed a dessert that required no cooking because they had no oven. The original recipe used key lime juice, sweetened condensed milk, and egg yolks in a graham cracker crust. The acid in the lime juice chemically sets the condensed milk without heat in a process called denaturation. Key limes are smaller, more acidic, and more aromatic than Persian limes and produce a different flavor entirely. Most key lime pies sold in the United States use Persian lime juice. Florida considers this a fraud and has been saying so officially since the 1990s.
Pumpkin pie. Pumpkin pie is eaten almost exclusively in the United States and Canada, and almost exclusively at Thanksgiving. The rest of the world finds this combination of vegetable, spice, and custard in a pastry shell unusual when described and acceptable when tasted. Pumpkin spice blend, the blend of cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and cloves, became one of the most commercially exploited flavor profiles in American food history after Starbucks introduced the pumpkin spice latte in 2003. The latte contains no pumpkin. The spice blend does all the work. American consumers spent $500 million on pumpkin spice products in 2015 alone. A Thanksgiving pie inspired a seasonal flavor that now appears in products entirely unrelated to pie or pumpkin simultaneously every September.
Lemon meringue pie. Lemon meringue pie requires 3 separate technical skills executed in sequence without error. A blind-baked pastry shell that does not shrink, a lemon curd that sets without scrambling the eggs, a meringue that peaks without weeping liquid onto the curd. Any one of these can fail independently. All 3 must succeed simultaneously. Professional pastry chefs use lemon meringue pie as a benchmark test for kitchen skill for this reason. The dish appeared in American cookbooks in the mid-19th century and became a diner staple in the 20th century because its visual impact, bright yellow curd beneath towering white meringue, sells the slice before anyone reads a description. It is one of the few desserts that looks better than it needs to.